Hello and welcome to our National Social Worker Month video series. This is a video based on the school-based youth services program here in New Brunswick. My name is Jian. I am the Director of Youth Services for New Brunswick Tomorrow, and I am joined by three wonderful social workers in our school-based program. I'm joined by Jessica Viscuso, Luba Mityukova, and Gina Andrade. And we're going to be talking a little bit about why they got into the field of social work, some highlights that have been happening presently, and then a little bit about how we think and how they think the field will evolve in the future. So let's kick it off. Jessica, let's start with you. I want to ask you a little bit about why you got into social work as a field and the areas of interest that really drew you to this kind of work.
So I would have to say, ever since I was young, I always wanted to work in the helping profession. I didn't necessarily know it was going to be social work, but throughout time and throughout my education, that's where I ended up. I've always been super passionate about mitigating injustices in the community. A big driving factor for me was my grandfather was super big into social justice. He marched with Martin Luther King. And that was something that really drove my interest into the social work field. Currently, I work with students and families, which I also did not think I would be doing. But I really do love it. And I love helping them manage the stressors and advocating for them to receive the resources that they need to thrive.
That's fantastic. And do you think that the practice of social work has been a rewarding one for you, right? There's the theory and what you sort of learn in school, and then there's the actual practice of helping people and sort of being on the front lines, particularly now during the pandemic. So how's it been for you practicing social work?
Super rewarding. I think, reading, stuff in a book and, experiencing things in an internship, they're all great. But once you get to take that experience and that education and apply it to the work that you're doing and being able to see that you're making a difference in people's lives, it's a feeling that you really can't put words around. It's really just so heartwarming and so fulfilling, and I'm super happy that I have the opportunity to work with school based to be able to do that stuff.
That's great. That's great. And I also want to invite Luba and Gina to weigh in, at any point during the conversation. If there's anything you'd like to share, please feel free. So thank you so much, Jessica. I think that's just a really rewarding thing to hear. It's gratifying to hear that the experience of practicing social work, really does sort of meet the expectation that you had as, a young student in a social work class, that you're actually finding the experience rewarding. Luba, let's move on over to you. I would love to hear about, speaking of, what a segue, speaking of the experience of practicing social work, what kinds of things you're finding rewarding and fulfilling on a day to day, and whether there are any, sort of highlight stories that you would like to emphasize.
So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Luba Mityukova, and I'm a school-based mental health clinician at Roosevelt Elementary School in New Brunswick. And I work with school-based for more than 3 years already. And I started as an intern when receiving my master's degree at Rutgers University. And here I am still with school-based. And I love my job, and I love people that I work with, and especially students. And I see that it's a rewarding job where it can be challenging at times, but by the end of the day, you see people, you interact with people, and you receive a lot of positive feedbacks that you are helping someone and that your work is valued. So I work in school settings, and I find that school-based program, it's a very therapeutic modality where people who are in need, they can develop new trusting relationships with people. They can rebuild attachment, new attachments, and they can help healthy relationship, and they can receive encouragement and trust from people around them. So I'm happy to be part of this collaboration between school and school-based program in providing healthy psychological environment to students who are in great need.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luba. I think it's really rewarding to hear that, especially the students, are one of your favorite parts of your job. Because I think that that's really where so much of our work lies, right? Like these are school-based settings for mental health care. So to find people like you who have, a lot of different responsibilities that you have to attend to during your job, but it's the student part, right? It's the student part that really keeps you coming back day after day, excited to serve our community. So thank you for your experience and thank you for sharing. And last but certainly not least, I want to speak a little bit to Miss Gina Andrade. And for you, Gina, my question is forward facing. I would love to know for you the ways in which you hope to see the social work field continue to evolve, and maybe some ways that you think it could be even improved, things that you think would be really important and impactful in terms of impacting our community.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. My name is Gina, and I am the site manager for school base here at Stirling. And so far, it's been a wonderful experience. And the way I see this moving forward is by continuing expanding our services and being open to our families and to the communities. Because when we say social work, the first thing that comes to mind is just the mental health aspect of it. But people don't forget that behind that, there's a community that needs to be served, And being part of this amazing team that I'm working with right now is showing me that we need that as well. And to move forward, we need to work with our communities and with partnership with other communities, which I'm currently doing right now, and I'm loving it. And I see it with the families I'm working with as well, just not with the children, but with the parents, which also need the help. So moving forward, I could see social work working finally together as a big family and implementing all the puzzle pieces that sometimes we miss along the way, So I'm very happy to be able to do this. I'm super passionate about this. And like Jess, I thought I wanted it. I always knew I wanted to help people, but I started to see that I want to help the community itself. I want to do more from the community-based aspect of it than just the individual, because that's where everything starts building up. And as social workers, we all play a very important piece in that perspective.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gina. I think you really touched on a point. If the goal of, speaking with Luba was to really highlight the student-facing aspect of the day-to-day, I think a lot of what you're saying is about the context that a student lives within, right? It's the family environment, it's the school environment, it's the community environment, and how important those other social supports are to making sure that students succeed as well, right? So they need that individualized attention on them, but they also need supports for their families and communities to make their lives better as well. So when I think of what we do, as community-based organizations, I think of it as macro social work. Whether it's individualized or whether it's family-based or whether it's community-based, I think ultimately all of it is to move people forward. So I want to thank all three of you guys, Jessica, Luba, and Gina, for coming, for sharing your experiences. We wanted to highlight you because we think you're so important, such crucial pillars to our community. And we want to make sure that we thank our partners in this work as well. So that's the New Jersey Department of Children and Families. That's certainly Youth Advocate Program, a very close partner of ours. And that is the New Brunswick Public Schools. So we want to shout out our partners and thank them and thank these three lovely ladies for coming and sharing their experiences during National Social Work Month. To learn more about the school-based program at New Brunswick Tomorrow, you can visit www.nbtomorrow.org. Thanks again.